Emotional slavery is a term we use for when you think that other people are responsible for your feelings, or when you think that you're responsible for other people's feelings. It's really hard, for example, in a relationship to think that the things that I do or the things that I say could cause my partner to feel disappointment or to feel sadness or to feel frustration. And so I might hold back my honesty, I might hold back my truth because I don't want to make them feel bad in any way. So let's say my partner makes dinner and she asks me how it is, and let's say that I thought it was so-so, but the part of me that thinks I'm responsible for her feelings, I might actually say, no, it was really good, and actually lie through my teeth. Not be honest, truthful, transparent, because I think I'm responsible for their feelings. I can make them feel any particular way. When it comes to more important things, things that actually matter more than did I like tonight's dinner, the more I hold back my truth and my honesty, the more I start to resent it. But also, there's not really a connection happening if we're not truly being honest and truthful. Oftentimes, people are afraid of being in a relationship because as soon as they notice their partner has needs or feelings, and they feel like they're responsible for their partner's needs and feelings, and then it becomes a stifling situation. And likewise, if I think other people are making me mad or making me sad, then likewise, I'll be blaming and resenting other people and not really owning, not taking responsibility for my own feelings. This is especially insidious when we have a definition of love as, if I love you, it means denying my needs. In order to love you, I have to say yes to everything you want and not be honest and not be truthful about what I might want or need in a particular moment. So this stage of emotional slavery is painful, it's difficult, it's frustrating, and it's really hard to know how to get out of. As we progress, once we realize that we're not actually causing other people's pain and they're not causing our pain, and we start to take responsibility for what we want and our own needs, that's a whole other stage, but it's not quite emotional liberation. There's a stage in between emotional slavery and emotional liberation, and playfully we call that stage obnoxious. So it's sort of like, oh, you have a problem with that? Well, that's your problem. My teacher in Nonviolent Communication tells a story of his daughter going to school one day and wearing something that the principal didn't approve of, and the principal saying something, and the daughter saying to the principal, "F*** off." And Marshall actually celebrated that because he saw that as growth, as development from the stage of emotional slavery when his daughter was actually holding back because she didn't want to disappoint others, to the stage of standing up for herself. So in the obnoxious stage, we start to stand up for our own needs, we start to assert our autonomy and our sense of choice, but we're not quite at the place of being able to do it in a way that's in harmony with other people's needs. So this is the stage a lot of my clients are at when they want a new way to communicate where they can state what's true for them, but not come across as assholes. They don't want to turn off other people. They want to say what's true and real, but they want to do it in a way that also preserves harmony and includes other people's needs. Which brings us to emotional liberation. How do I state what's true for me in a way that's most likely to elicit a compassionate response from you, and also that lets you know that your needs also matter? So whatever's up for me, it doesn't have to look a specific way. I'm not looking to force that on you. I'm looking to have a conversation so we can find out what is the win-win. How do we take your needs into account and my needs into account so that we can find the solution that's mutually agreeable? In other words, emotional liberation is a stage in which your needs matter and my needs matter. So here's what I'm responsible for and here's what I'm not responsible for. I'm responsible for my own intentions, for my own thoughts, for my own words, for my own actions. That I'm responsible for. I'm not responsible for your intentions, for your feelings. I'm not responsible for your needs, and I'm not responsible for your actions. I can't make you do any particular thing. Another interesting story from Marshall Rosenberg's life, he was making this point when he was doing a workshop in the Middle East. He was making this point about we always have choice. And a Palestinian young man turned to Marshall and he said, "Oh yeah? Well, where was my choice when an Israeli soldier pointed a rifle at my head and told me to take my clothes off?" Marshall responded, "Well, it sounds pretty simple. You had a choice whether or not to take your clothes off." The man leaned back and smiled and he said, "Okay, I know what you mean now. See, I knew that soldier was just trying to humiliate me, and I chose not to take my clothes off." And then Marshall responded right away, "Well, and then that soldier must have chosen to not shoot you, or else he has terrible aim." So that's the point. We always have choice. And a stage of emotional liberation lets me know that I do have choice in how I interact and how I respond to your messages, to your feelings. And I can take your feelings into account, but I'm not responsible for them. So that's the difference between emotional slavery, the stage we call obnoxious, and emotional liberation. So let's go back to the example of my partner saying, "You make me sad when you don't call me." In the stage of emotional slavery, I feel terrible. I've made her sad. Maybe I feel guilty. Maybe I feel ashamed, and I'm responsible for the fact that she's sad. At the obnoxious stage, my response might be, "Hey, screw you. We never even agreed that I was going to call you." Or I might say something like, "Well, I'm very sorry you're having a problem with that." Or something along those lines that basically says, "Hey, if you have a problem, it's your problem." That may be true, but it's also the obnoxious stage when I'm asserting my own needs and I'm not quite yet able to fully take into account the other person's needs. From a standpoint of emotional liberation, the other person says, "Hey, you made me sad by not calling me." I might first empathically reflect back and say, "Wow, it sounds like when I didn't call you, you were feeling some sadness and disappointment because you were really needing connection." By making that connection for them, by connecting their feeling to their need, I'm helping them take responsibility for their feeling by connecting it to what was valuable, what was important to them, their need for connection. It wasn't a need for me to call them. It's just a universal human need we all have. And that's where her sadness or disappointment was coming from. And then I might inquire. I might get curious. "Hey, so you were expecting a call from me? Help me understand." And she might say, "Yes, I thought you were going to call me." And then we can start the connection process and really surface like what happened and where we're at with the conversation. And I might end up saying something like, "Hey, I would love it if you're expecting a call from me, or if you would like me to call you, just to make the request, or you know what, you could call me too." So I can move in that direction to help us both take responsibility for the relationship and for the conversation. Another way to illustrate this point is the metaphor of two trees in a forest. When one tree is leaning on another, it creates an unstable situation. Or if two trees are leaning on each other, also inherently unstable. If one of them goes down, they both go down. The idea here is that when trees are strong on their own right and they can stand parallel to each other, the branches can intermingle, the roots can intermingle, but there isn't this sense of codependence and inherent instability in the relationship. So you get yourself solid, you're standing on your own, you're responsible for your own intentions, words, and actions, and you can also account for other people's feelings and needs without telling yourself that you're responsible for them. So you're standing on your own, strong in your own right, and you bring that wholeness to whatever relationship you're a part of. So the process that I teach, Nonviolent Communication, which was named that out of a sense of alignment with Gandhi's movement of truth-telling and compassion, the entire learning process of nonviolent communication helps us move from emotional slavery through obnoxious to emotional liberation. I encourage you to look at the links below, to look at all the other free videos I have, plus online courses, as well as events coming up for you to be able to learn these skills and develop your skill level with them so that any situation that you're in, you're able to diffuse it, you're able to stand in a more compassionate place, and you're able to have your honesty as well as harmony with other people. I created this video in response to a request, And I want to let you know that you can also make requests for what kinds of videos you'd like to see me do. Please scroll down, check out the links below, and leave me a comment. I would love your feedback. It helps me do a better job. And I promise if I get bummed out, I'm not going to blame you for it.
Wow.